Hey everyone, it's Daphne. I'm back and we're going to continue working on Fashion Forward and we're on to March. Okie dokie. So I was just laying things out to figure out which side I'm going to install the pocket flap on and which side the regular flap goes on. So this is how it's going to look. So that means March pocket flap is going to get installed on the left hand side, and then our 4.5 by 8 inch flap is going to get installed on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and get started. And that also means that the ephemera card is going to open to the right, just the same as this flap. So in the first video, I went over this a couple of times, and I'm not going to keep repeating it because they're the same, but in the beginning you needed 12 of these 4.5 by 8 score 1/2 inch. So in the end you've got a finished panel of 4 by 8. You need one for each page. And then in addition to that, you're going to need a total of 12 of these pocket flaps. And I've asked you not to finish the construction until we decide which side it's going to go on, because you may need to switch sides, and then you're going to add the glue to the correct end depending on which way it's getting installed. So because this one is getting installed on the left hand side, our flange is right here, I'm going to apply it, and it's going to go in just like so. I got a little bit of a chill. Oh, I think I was sitting still too long. Okay, so there's our pockets. We've got our flap to the right and then our pocket flap to the left. And we're going to start pulling in our papers. So this is going to go right here. And it doesn't look like I've inked my edge, so I'll do that real quick. This is part of the cut aparts. And it's going to go right on top of the pocket flap right here. Oh, you know what? I forgot. Oh, I should not have. I need to lift this off now. Shoot. Shoot. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we're back to continue working on Fashion Forward, and we're on to month March. And I've got my cut aparts here ready. So we are going to, again, use one pocket flap and one regular flap, and we are going to actually install the pocket flap over on the left hand side and the regular flap on the right hand side. So, but before we do that, we're going to take our pocket flap and we're going to do, we know that it needs to be sealed on this bottom, which I've gone ahead and done. So I've sealed the bottom, and now I'm going to slip my month in, and I'm testing my pocket to see where the line falls. And it looks like it's just right. So this is actually wound up being 4 5/8 tall. So it works out just right. I'm going to go ahead and install this, but I did want to test once I had my insert in here before I installed it. So if I wanted to trim my pocket down, I could. Once you install it, you can't really trim this pocket down. Okay, so that's done. So we're going to go ahead and install it on the left-hand side. Okay, like so. I'm going to go ahead and slip this inside the pocket. And the reason is we're going to need to know where the top of this lies to figure out the placement of the ephemera that goes on top of this flap. So the next thing we're going to do is install the right hand flap. And the tape is not laying down, so bear with me. There we go. For some reason it didn't want to stick there, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit of glue to the very edge. Okay. Okay. There we go. Let's burnish that into place. Burnished into place. Okay, good. Let's get the cap on. All right, so that's in place. So I've trimmed out, this is another cut apart from the month. So I've trimmed this out and it's gonna fit right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay that in. And I've already inked the edges. Okay. This is going to be the base. And again, it's the flip side of the same month. And then this is what I planned here. And I honestly can't remember which side I wanted. So I'm just gonna check and see what I like best. So I like both sides, but I have already used this pattern on a different month, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it and just for variety have this side up. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this and we can lay it down. Okay, goes in just like that. Sorry about that, that's kind of loud. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing on the back of this. So I'm going to add a trim piece here. And again, this one opens to the right. So I told you to trim out a total of 12 of these, and this one will open to the right. So this month had matching ephemera cards. So it turns out there's only, I think there's 8 months that have matching ephemera cards, and then 4 of the months you actually have to use one of the cut aparts, which essentially is the same as the ephemera card, but you don't get the journaling piece. So there are 4 months where you have to use the cut apart. This is not one of them. And it'll be obvious when we get there. So it's gonna go like so, and I'm going to use a pencil mark once I decide the placement. And again, I'm trying to make sure that I don't cut that image in half. I don't like the way that looks, so I want to keep as much of that image front and center as possible. And then also keeping in mind that the strip that I'll be applying to the back is about this wide, which places this right about here. And I'm happy with that. Okay. So I'm just going to mark the corner here, just a little corner mark. So I know if I get my corner laid down, then everything else should fall into place. So I'm going to trim out a piece. to go on the back here. So I just need to make sure I'm putting it on the right side. So this is going to get tucked under like that. So it means that this decorative strip goes right here. There we go. And again, we're going to do 3 out of 4 sides because we're going to make sure this is, remains a pocket. Okay, and I'm looking back up here for my reference corner. I think I've got it. And I'm going to look at the flip side real quick. Actually, I wound up shifting it a little bit. So I'm not happy with that, so hang tight. Got a little too much glue. Okay, there we go. So that's in. So the other thing we need to do is make a little tick mark here, and that's going to help us figure out where to place the magnet, okay? So we know the magnet needs to be on this side of the card, so on this side of the line. And of course below the pocket. And this is 5/8 inch tape, and I find it to be a perfect size to fit over the small magnets so that you can soften the edges all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to place it right here, and then I'll place the opposing magnet right on the other side. Like so. Okay, so that's it. That is in. And that's how it'll stay closed. Okay, so now we're ready. We can go ahead and put in the large piece. So let's dry fit it real quick. It looks good. All right. I'm anxious to get this finished. Getting ready for Thanksgiving. So it's Monday, and I'm hoping to have this done before we head out. We're gonna, oops, you know, I think I forgot to ink the edges of this. Too late now. We're gonna head out to our in-laws for Thanksgiving. We haven't seen them in a while, so that'll be nice. And then let's see what's next. Okay, we're going to, this is what I planned here. And then I've got these two pieces planned like so. And then I'm going to use this again to split those two images. So that's probably what I'm going to do. This is a little too big, so I'm going to trim it down real quick. Okay, try to remember to ink the rest of my edges. A little bit of housekeeping. I think I'll do this side. All right, so it looks like both of these need to be trimmed down. So I'm gonna do the same thing I have been doing, is I'm gonna attach these two pieces and then trim them down as a whole to fit. Oh, I just did that wrong. I wanted this on top. So I'm gonna have to see if I can't lift that off. Eek. Let's see, I haven't burnished it, so I'm hopeful. Success. So one of the keys to doing that, and I've mentioned it in previous videos, is never pull straight up, always tug toward you and up gently. And I was able to take it off without tearing any of the designer paper. But again, if I had burnished it, probably wouldn't have been able to do it. Okay, that's really what I wanted, this side. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to trim it down to fit. Okay, here we go. Now it's all trimmed down. Let's make sure it's gonna fit. It looks good. I'm gonna ink the edges. And I've mentioned this before in other videos too. I don't like to distress inside. I'm okay with that. And on some collections, I think it looks better than others. But I think most of the time, graphics prints are just so pretty. I don't really want to distress inside. And all I'm really trying to do is knock off what is the white core of the cardstock so that it's not standing out against the black. And if I was building this on a cream or a white cardstock base, I wouldn't bother at all. And it's just really personal preference, how far in you want to go with your ink. Okay, and then this is going to be trimmed out. To fit right across here. And I don't want to cut my L off, so I'm going to slide it over because it looks like I can take a little piece off this side. Okay, and now I'm going to come back and figure out where to trim it on the other side. And then that way the whole saying remains intact. Okay, there you go. Let fortune smile. Okay, let's ink those edges and get it down. There's March. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so we've got a bunch of little cut-aparts left from March that we're going to collect up and put in the pocket so that we have them ready when we go to embellish March. Okay. And I like to add my embellishments at the end, partly because I want the flip side of this to be as flat as possible when I'm applying the next month. So the more bulk, the harder it is to get your pockets and flaps to go in straight and even. So we are now on to April. Okay, you're gonna need a pocket and a flap. Okay, and it looks like I've already trimmed this out, but the pocket is going to be adhered again I'm going to test this, but I believe it's on the left-hand side. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe not. Yes, it is. So basically, if the image or the woman's image is mostly to the right, it gets installed to the right. If it's mostly to the left, it gets installed to the left. Because you've got this overlap with the flap, you want to leave that image exposed. So whichever side she's on is the side it's going to get installed on with the flap. So again, this one's going to go, the pocket flap is going to go to the left and the other flap is going to go to the right. So let's go ahead and get the flap in. The regular flap, and then we'll do the pocket flap. Okay. And then the pocket flap is going to go over here to the left, but before we put it in, you're going to glue your bottom shut, which I've already done, and then you're going to slip in your monthly, after it dries, slip in your monthly cut apart, and then test where it's falling, and you may need to trim it. And you're going to want to trim it based on two things. One, the month, but also this cut apart's going to go down here. So you want to be able to center this. And it looks like I have a little bit too much on the bottom. So I know I glued the bottom, but I think I can take a little off the bottom edge. And it still remains, because once you lay your glue down, it kind of bleeds upward. But I want this to fit on here a little bit more centered. And I still feel like that's way too much on the bottom, so I'm going to trim off another bit. Okay, and I think that's as much as I can trim off without opening up the pocket. And it looks like that'll do it. Okay. In fact, it opened a little bit, so I'm going to try to get a tiny bit of glue on the edge there. Okay. All right, let's slip this in, see that it fits. Okay, looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Okay, just so I can go over that one more time. So again, we made this a little bit bigger than it needed to be. Once you decide if it's going left or right, you glue the bottom closed, and then you're going to slip this in and see if it's landing with the entire April portion exposed. And if it is, great, you don't need to do it. It means that the top doesn't need to be trimmed. Then the second thing you're going to want to do is lay in this piece, and if there's too much black on the bottom, you're going to want to trim some off the bottom where you glued it, so you'll have to wait for the glue to dry, which is just a few seconds if you're using art glitter glue. And then because when you press it into place, the glue expands, you can take a few slivers off here without opening up the pocket. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay, that's in place. Actually, I think I'm going to put this inside the pocket so I can better see the edge before I lay in this trim piece. Okay, there we go. All right, so the next thing is going to be the base. Going to lay in like so. So now I'm just trying to decide which image I like better, the dark or the light. I'm going to roll up a little bit. Okay. So what do I think? What do you think, guys? I think I like the lighter. Okay. Let's see if it's trimmed to fit already. And looks like it is, so so now we're going to focus on magnet placement. So I'm liking this. Let's get our trim piece on before we go too far. Let me double check, make sure I'm putting it on the right side. I'll go on this side. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so let's see, how's this gonna look? It looks good, I like it. So let's go ahead and mark our corner. That's in. Let's take this out and let's mark. So we know our magnet needs to go below that line and to the left of that line. There we go. All right, so we can go ahead and put this back in the pocket. There you go. All right, so I'm not sure which side I want up yet, but I think it's safe to say we can go ahead and put this in. Yep. Okay, there we go. Now we're ready to lay this in. Let's double check. It's got to remember to ink it. It's ready. Oh no, my paper shifted. Ugh. That wasn't all the way, shoot. That wasn't glued all the way in, so my card shifted on me. So you might want to be careful when you're doing it. You can see from here that it shifted quite a bit. I'm gonna have to straighten that out, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that just yet. So let's move forward. That's distressing. Before I decide which side is up and down, I'm going to look at what I've planned over here. And I think I've got, I think this is what I was planning. You know what? I'm going to see if I've got a yellow piece I can put here. I do. I think I like this better. So I'm going to do that. All right, so let's trim this down a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Okay. Well, like I said, that's just kind of distressing. I'm gonna have to see if I can lift this off without doing too much damage and straighten it out. But I'm not gonna do that right now. Let's go ahead and get this in. Okay, and these are gonna need to be trimmed down as well. So right now I'm just trying to decide which sides I want up. I think that's what I want. So I'm going to glue these two together, or what I mean is tape them together, and then I'll trim them down. Oh, I better make sure they still fit. Yeah, okay. And then I'll trim them together. Right width. Okay, and I just need to take some off the top and bottom. Nope, needs more. Needs more. Okay, that should be it. Okay, that looks right. Okay, now here's our last piece of trim. Okay, that is April. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to need to do is try to figure out how to straighten this out without doing too much damage, if possible. And I'm going to do that on my own. I don't think you guys need to watch that. We'll go ahead and get started then on our next page, which is, oops, sorry about that. It's going to be May. So we're on to page 5. Let's make sure our pockets are on the right side. Oh yeah, and then I'm going to take the rest of my cut aparts for April and tuck them in the pockets so they are reserved for later. There we go. That's all done. Whoops, one more. And then now we are on to May.